What's up, Planeswalkers? It's your boy K-Dog. Another fun video for you guys. In this one we're looking at Atemsis Elementals. This is a Simic list. It's built around Atemsis, the All-Seeing. It's a 6 mana 4/5 Sphinx. It does have an activated ability. You can pay 3, tap it, draw 2 cards, and then discard a card. However, the interesting thing about this card is whenever it deals damage to an opponent, you may reveal your hand. And if cards with at least 6 different converted mana costs are revealed this way, that player loses the game. So, unlike other cards like, say, Embodiment of Agnes, where it's very specific on the type of mana spent, this one just cares about the total converted mana cost. So, 4 total, 5 total, 1 total, 2 total. It doesn't matter how you get there. So we do need to have a spread of cards to cast this. So in our list we have everything from 1 through 7, and we do have some pretty powerful card draw here to get there. We also need a little bit of interaction because obviously Atemsis has to get through. As a flyer, that makes things easier, but however, if your opponent has any sort of flyers down, they can just block it and kind of stall you out that way. Potentially even have a bigger flyer that can kill Atemsis, so you do need ways to obviously get through for damage, but you also need tons of cards in your hand. So the best way to do that is Nyxbloom Ancient and Finale of Revelation. So running a ton of elementals to get a bunch of ramp value. However, we're not running like Nissa or Agent of Treachery because those cards are just stupid and broken. We're just running more of a kind of a fair list. Although Nyxbloom Ancient isn't entirely fair, as it does just some pretty bonkers stuff. But 7 mana 5/5 for with trample isn't the most amazing thing. However, just being able to tap for 1,000,000 mana is what makes this card so ridiculous. But obviously, you need a way to win the game if you're spending all that mana. And so being able to sink all that mana into a Finale of Revelation to draw 1,000,000 cards and then attack in with an Atemsis, and then win the game just because you have so many cards in hand. Of course, you're going to be able to meet the 6 converted mana cost requirement. And for anybody who does not remember or does not know, familiar with Finale of Revelation, it's blue X, sorcery speed. You draw X cards. If X is 10 or more, instead you shuffle your library into your graveyard, draw X cards, untap 5 lands, and you have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. You do have to exile the Finale after you cast this because it would just be broken to just continuously replay it. So we're running each of these as a 2 of because all we really need is just 1 of each to kind of go off along with our Atemsis. But we do have so much card draw as well that we're going to find these pieces. And so one way to do that, of course, is Drawn from Dreams. It's a 4 mana sorcery. Look at the top 7 cards of our library and put any 2 cards into our hand. So whichever pieces we're missing, the Atemsis, the Ancient, or the Finale, we can dig for those 7 deep. It's pretty deep, and just get those pieces that we're missing, and then just kind of get set up that way. Obviously, this is a pretty fragile list, not something meant for competitive play. We're just going to do a casual best of 1, unranked, and hopefully we can get our Atemsis going. Had some fun in playtesting. It's gotten pretty crazy. Obviously, you just want to avoid anything that's very removal heavy. But we do need a spread of 1 through 7. The Ancient, of course, costs 7. For the purposes of Atemsis, this is a 2 drop because X always equals 0 in these cases. But going over 1 drop here, I put in Spectral Sailor because it is a also sort of source of card advantage. You could go Opt too, but I think just having some creatures down to kind of distract your opponent is a little more relevant. And just kind of giving your opponent something to think about with their removal instead of having removal for the Nyxbloom Ancient or Atemsis. We're also running, of course, the Leafkin Druid since we are running all 4 Risen Reef. So that way the Druid is fine on 2, or it's fine if you draw into it later because you're going to get the elemental triggers. And so either way it stacks great, and just being able to tap for additional mana, especially with the Nyxbloom Ancient out, because once we get 4 creatures, it taps for double green. But if we have an Ancient as one of those 4 creatures, then obviously it taps for even more mana than that. So I can get pretty out of control pretty quickly. Do need some interaction to kind of slow our opponent down, and so Brazen Borrower, of course, fits that bill in Simic colors. So this just allows us to bounce whatever creature or planeswalker that is kind of threatening us as we're trying to get set up into our late game with our big plays. And so Brazen Borrower is kind of the perfect answer in Simic to deal with that. Of course, all 4 Risen Reefs, all 4 Drawn from Dreams, so we can find our pieces as consistently as possible. Another way to do that is Sphinx of Foresight. It's a 4 mana 4/4. If it's in our opening hand, we get to reveal it and scry 3 on our first upkeep. So that's pretty sweet. Fix our early draws. And then, of course, once we get it down as a 4/4 flyer, we'll get to scry during our upkeep. So that's super sweet. Also, another way to help us find our pieces that we're missing. Just the 1 copy of Thassa. Like I said, we're not in the Agent of Treachery shenanigans because that's just stupid and boring and not fun to play against. However, getting additional elemental triggers, though, to help us kind of ramp and dig is pretty sweet. And if we are kind of struggling, we can sink some of that mana to tap down our opponent's creatures. Especially the Nyxbloom Ancient, we'll just have all the mana in the world. And we'll just hold that open to tap down our opponent's creatures so we don't die. And hopefully find our pieces on the following draw step. And of course, Cavalier of Gales is super powerful as an elemental. And a 5/5 flyer that lets us draw 3. We have to put 2 of those cards back, but again, that just kind of helps us find any pieces that we're missing for our sort of combo. And Thryx is just kind of an interesting card here as a 5 mana 4/5 flyer with flash. It's an elemental as well. It also says that spells with mana cost 5 or greater get a reduction. They cost 1 less to cast, and they cannot be countered. So that's pretty cool. And Return of the Wildspeaker. It's kind of an alternate win condition if you do need to kind of win with your elementals. We don't have any humans, and we do have some, of course, 4 and 5 powered creatures, so 5 mana instant speed, draw 4 or 5 cards is pretty sweet. Or we can give non-human creatures you control +3/+3 until end of turn. So Return of the Wildspeaker as a 1/of, just as another source of card draw to kind of keep our hand nice and stocked for Atemsis. And another way we can kind of clear the airs for Atemsis is Sea God's Scorn. It's 6 mana sorcery. Return up to 3 target creatures and or enchantments to their owner's hand. So this is kind of help us clear out any flyers on our opponent's side so Atemsis can get through and help us win the game. Or it can kind of slow our opponent down from being able to kill us with their creatures and just kind of buy us another turn. So yeah, anything you can kind of do to slow down your opponent's tempo. So Sea God Scorn and Brazen Borrower are going to help with that. And then we'll hopefully just kind of get our elemental triggers to go off, get 1,000,000 lands in play, draw 1,000,000 cards with Finale of Revelation. Been pretty easily to get this off at like X20, and that's more than enough to get the Atemsis win. And especially because you have the Nyxbloom Ancient, you'll be able to cast like Sea God Scorn and anything like that to clear the air, and then Atemsis will just win you the game. And of course, if you do need to win just with your elementals, you have things like Return of the Wildspeaker, Thryx, and Cavalier that can just swing in through the air for, you know, big creatures, 5/5 and 4/5. So that's pretty cool. So we're running a bunch of lands, 25 in total. Just the 1 Castle Vantress. We are obviously pretty heavy in blue, so 9 islands, 7 forests, all 4 breeding pools, of course, and all 4 Temple of Mysteries. All right, so like I said, this is best of 1. It's pretty casual. It's pretty fragile. But we're not quite 100% all in on Atemsis. I don't really like to build decks that can only win one way. You always want to have kind of a backup win condition. So just the elementals getting through for a bunch of damage, especially with like Wildspeaker and things like that. But obviously we do want to get the Atemsis win off. That's kind of the problem with elementals, is they kind of do lots of ramping and things like that, but they don't always have great ways to close out the game, especially without like an Agent of Treachery or a Nyssa. And we're going to leverage that card advantage and that ramp into Atemsis. There's a couple other ways I thought about trying to run Atemsis as a win condition. Would like make it more of a controlling deck with counter spells and a bunch of card draw, but that doesn't really seem like too much fun. And of course, if you're just trying to rely strictly on card draw, that gets pretty difficult to pull off. Alright, so the hand seems great. We do have the breeding pool, forest, and a bunch of early plays, and the Sphinx, of course. Alright, so we don't have to shock in Breeding Pool. We can just get our island down, say go, and just flash in the Sailor end of turn. The next one probably just island or forest into Leafkin Druid. Okay, double red, but no plays from our opponent. We'll attack in for 1. Leafkin Druid. Next turn we could Sphinx of Foresight maybe. Let's see what our opponent's up to. Okay. Let's start with the Spectral Sailor attack. Okay. Let's go island into Sphinx. And then we can start scrying. And we can flash in this Thryx. Okay. Found the third land into Mana Geo. So kind of a big red, I guess. Maybe Dracuseth, Chandra 6, stuff like that. Okay, scry to the bottom. Oh, so they're multicolors. Well, there's our Atemsis. We're missing a couple pieces though, but that's fine. We're no pressure, but obviously our opponent could go off here pretty quickly. So we'll see what they're up to. Obviously, Storm's Wrath would be pretty bad. We can still flash in Thryx though; it would not die since the 5 toughness. Okay, Caliphate, Beloved of the Sea. 10th Street Dodger. Okay. So this deck is kind of all over the place. 10th Street Dodger attack for 1. Sweet. Flash in our Thryx. Scry. Yeah, sure, we'll take another land. We do need to find our Nyxbloom Ancient and Finale though. So yeah, attack in the air. It's 9 damage coming at you. Down to 4. We're going to Atemsis. We do have the card draw, so we'll see. Although we're still a few cards away, and without a way to deal with all of our flyers, then it probably just lose here. Yep. Okay, so opponent on some jank. Not really sure what they're up to with all those cards. Couldn't see a whole lot of synergy. Oops. So obviously just the power of flyers can be enough sometimes. We did find the Atemsis, but we were a little low on cards there. We have the Drawn from Dreams to help us dig though. Which is why it's so hard to win just with natural card draw. Even if you keep drawing with like Fibblethrips and Cloud Concealers, it's just kind of 1-for-1 card draw. You really need that Nyxbloom and Finale card draw to really get you going. We got an opening hand, so that's kind of cool, knowing that we have that in our back pocket. Of course, it is going to take us a while to get online, but Risen Reef in our opening hand is going to help us get there a little faster. So, hand seems pretty solid. Okay, another red deck. Scorch Spitter. Probably just a Cavalcade. Go ahead and get our forest down. Okay, we'll make them shock it. It's one less shock they can target our Risen Reef with. And if they attack, yeah, we'll block. It's just there as a distraction. It's not our win condition. Our opponent probably just thinks we're on Simic Flash or something. Little do they know the jank that could be in store for them. Of course, we don't just get run over by red aggro, which is obviously a weakness of the list. Okay. So they just suicide their Scorch Spitter. And don't have a turn 2 play. That's kind of odd. I guess they're trying to decide between creatures or Cavalcade here. Just going for the life of the stage. Okay, so there's the Cavalcade and a Steamkin. So I'll be able to cast one of those next turn. Get our Risen Reef trigger. If they have removal, we'll just get the 1. Atemsis. Okay, so we have our pieces assembled here. We'll just need to kind of get to 7 mana. Obviously, red deck like Cavalcade is going to have a hard time dealing with 5 toughness creatures. And the Brazen Borrower is that little bit of interaction we need to kind of stall out our opponent, so we can just flash that into bounce either a Steamkin or something. Okay, they go for the Cavalcade play, so no Steamkin, and they don't have anything else. Just drawn from Dreams here, try to find some more lands. We just take 2? Druid's okay though. I think we'll take the Druid. No attacks. Don't want to block with this if they haste something in, but we'll see what they do here. We might have to. Obviously, Torbrand will be pretty devastating. Nope, just a Goblin Gather, that's fine. Okay, so we do have Leafkin Druid. And then we can just hold up the Brazen Borrower. Oh, actually, that's pretty good. So let's go ahead and... Oh, we already used up our... Did not see it took both of our green lands, so of course we do not get to Risen Reef here. Auto Tapper. Definitely have to watch that Auto Tapper. So we do have the Borrower at least. And we'll just get the Risen Reef down next turn. And hopefully we're just not dead. Another Cavalcade. Okay, so that's at least 4 damage. Yeah, we'll go ahead and bounce one of them. And we'll block with the Druid, but not with the Risen Reef, so we can get at least one more trigger here. And that should be quite a bit of value. We'll slow them down a little bit more. So then their combat phase, they can attack, get 2 Cavalcade triggers for 17. We'll block one of them. We could have a shock though, so maybe it's not worth it. Say no blocks. If they want to shock this Druid, I think I'd rather keep it in play. And this would be a nice time to find a Sea God Scorn to kind of bounce a bunch of stuff. Obviously we used to probably things like Torbrand. Okay, so they have the Skewer. So they're probably holding a shock, but they could just shock the Risen Reef though. Yeah, start with the Risen Reef, and then we'll Temple. Okay, get those lands in play, please. Another Risen Reef. Man, this Auto Tapper, he's always screwing us over. 1, 2, 3. How many lands do we have out? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We already have 7 lands. Do we want another one? Sure. More lands, the better. So now we're pretty well set up. I don't think we need these Risen Reefs anymore. I think we're happy to block. We are taking 4, though, off double Cavalcade. And, of course, they could still have some hasty threats. Or a Torbrand, which would be pretty devastating. But short of that, we still have a chance. Cavalcade, of course, a best of 1 favorite. And we'll block. Let's see what they got. 2 cards in hand, 6 lands, so they have plenty of options here. And we'll just lose their Goblin, so no instant speed interaction. Definitely want the Nyxbloom Ancient down as soon as possible. Light up the stage, Shock, and Spitfire. Well, Spitfire is going to be hard to deal with because they're going to get a million triggers in the air. We Could shock in for Risen Reef plus Thryx. It's risky, but I think we try it. Resolves. And what do we get? If they shock it, I think we'll just go ahead and flash in the Thryx just to get that additional elemental value. Okay, Sphinx of Foresight, and what else? Yeah. Happy having all the lands. We'll definitely take this block here. Thryx is not key to our victory. We just need to do what we can to stay alive. They're going to hit us for 2 with a double cavalcade triggers. Down to 1 card in hand though. So not too worried about that. And if we can get this Spitfire out of the way, I'm definitely happy to play this Nyxbloom Ancient, and we should be good from there. It's going to be hard for these cavalcade decks to deal with these high toughness. And of course mono red, they just want to attack in, so they're trying to figure out some way to justify that. And they've convinced themselves that it's the right play. Just so they can get 2 triggers. Might have a light up the stage here. Maybe they just want to kill our Thryx. Totally fine with that. Alright. We have the 3 cards we need here to win the game. Atemsis, and we can also flash in this Borrower at their end step, thanks to the Nyxbloom. And we have 2 5 toughness creatures. It's going to be hard for them to deal with. So there you go. And next turn we'll have the finale, and unless they have a Spitfire, then it should be game. Even if they do, we'll probably just draw another Brazen Borrower. We can just petty theft it. Unless they have some way to chain together some spells to kill us. Shock and to light up the stage into double burn. Okay, Skewer for 3. We're down to 4. We can potentially win next turn. Go and flash us in just because. So let's see what we draw, and then we'll just float all of our mana, see what that is for finale, and we'll just attack in with Atemsis. Could just do the maximum. So that's 30. Okay, minus 2, that's 28. Don't necessarily need that many. We'll say 25, why not? We have a little bit of mana left floating. This is the fun part of these alternate win condition cards. Our life total is all the way down to 4, but the air is clear. We just attack in and win the game. So don't care about losing that 3 floating mana. And yeah, just attacking with Atemsis, reveal our hand. Don't have to look, we can just pretty much be guaranteed that we're there. Sean just triumph. We literally don't care. Alright. We dealt damage, now we can reveal our hand. And that's a game. So yeah, as long as you get your pieces down, you should be able to win the game. The Brazen Borrower obviously gave us just that little bit of breathing room, even against mono red. Of course, they didn't have the most aggressive of starts, so that worked in our favor. Yeah, so just a nice, fun, casual deck to kind of end the season with. Atemsis is something I've kind of played around with a little bit. It's kind of challenging. I think Elementals is the most consistent and best way, especially with the Nyxbloom Ancient and Finale. That's really kind of the best way to get your Atemsis victory off, and then just that little bit of interaction so that you don't die in the early turns, and so you can clear the way for Atemsis to win with the attack trigger, because obviously it does have to deal damage, and then you get to reveal your hand. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and look forward to seeing you in the next one. Alright, take care.